Welcome to another informal discussion on building a more inclusive digital and analog world, where we'll learn about what's on the minds of experienced practitioners in the tech for social impact space. Today, I'm excited to be speaking with Maria Mateo Iborra. Maria is the co-founder of the Abisa Network. Her background is in telecommunication engineering, and she's been working for 15 years in satellite communications, mainly connecting unconnected communities across different continents and around the world. So Maria, let's jump right into this. What's one big thing on your mind right now that you think we need to be paying more attention to?
Thank you, Joss, for having me here. Yeah, so for me, something that is really, really important, and I think that with COVID-19, we all realize that even more, is about resilience. And not only at the community level resilience, but as individuals.
Mm.
And we have seen and witnessed in many countries that have, let's say, different lifestyle, and they are less included in many regions, where not being resilient is creating a big problem for these people that are not able to find even food.
Yeah.
So I think that becoming more resilient and more aware of your resilience capacity is very important.
And how are you seeing technology as an enabler of helping people to increase their resilience and their awareness of issues linked to resilience?
Yeah. So, I mean, as an engineer, I'm a big proponent of technology. And I think we know that over these last 20 years, technology has changed our lives. And in these 15 years of working in the satellite industry, I've connected or I've reached a lot of communities that were offline, so the digital divide. And by having access to simple things like television, then you are more part of the world, you know what's going on, you have more tools to learn, to compare. That also enhance your curiosity. And also with the big improvement of telecommunication networks, now the internet or 3G, 2G, and GSM is more and more widespread around the world, and people has more access to finance, to health, to education, to everything. And new technologies, for example, in the case of Ibiza, we are doing is enabling local insurance and local mutuals to provide inclusive micro insurance for agriculture. And one of the key things is satellite Earth observation images and data. And by using satellites and by using this technology, we can make microinsurance that is much more cheap, because we don't need to go to the field to do a claims assessment. We can monitor everything through satellites. We can reach remote communities because we don't need to go there in all these steps of management. And also the different technologies inside these Earth observation satellites give the opportunity to innovate. And now you can be insurance that is crop agnostic. You can add more risk, more perils. So I think technology can be from many angles. I mean, being internet alone, or being Earth observation on the satellite side, or being blockchain. So all these things give like a toolkit for organizations to bring new services that are really efficient and that are inclusive. And these new services can help communities in evolving. And evolving brings knowledge and self-awareness, and you can build resilience.
Yeah. So how I'm curious, one of the benefits that you mentioned obviously is with satellite imagery and Earth observation data, you can access communities that may be much harder to access on the ground because they are remote. There's poor infrastructure in place. It's hard to get there. It takes a lot. It takes just a long time to travel there, perhaps. I mean, it's just not realistic. And so those communities have historically, a lot of them have not been serviced. They have not had access to different types of services such as insurance or financial services more broadly. Um, at the same time, by being able to serve them without having to be on the ground, they're still missing a bit of connection to the broader community because it's remote service rather than providing them with the in touch, the human experience.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that side of it? Like, have you seen any implications for folks who are gaining access but who still want to be connected in a more genuine way to society at large?
Definitely. I mean, I'm a believer of the power of people coming together. And in our case, we did not, let's say, go for fully automated or self-service type of thing, but we work in each country with partners. Like, for example, in India, we work with a mutual, a mutual insurance.
Okay.
And they have 2 million members across India. And yes, the process of the lifetime or the customer life cycle change because you offer this product or sell the product, or the farmer will want to buy the product, and that moment is still a moment where they meet, where
Okay.
the customer is, because there is an education component as well.
Yeah.
Especially for insurance, you need a component of education, and you need a component of trust. And that's the beauty of our model, that we work with mutuals or insurers that already have the trust and the track record with a community, and they know how to communicate with them. And that's really amazing of the model of mutuality.
Yeah.
Or cooperatives, where the feeling of belonging, it's really it's really high. And there is a mechanism of keeping all, let's say, together in it's a bit of pyramidal way, but it works.
Yeah.
And the only thing is that instead of maybe having to interact with this farmer 4 times in a season, it's more once.
Okay.
And especially what we see is that our partner, they provide more holistic support to these farmers communities. And it's more all the things related to risk management, including smart farming, savings, financial literacy, all together. And something that has happened during COVID, and I think it's worth mentioning, they were, let's say, once a month, people were getting together at the federation level, so at the hundreds level, or something like that, on a regular basis. And with COVID, they moved in 2 months to digital. So to do Skype calls with their communities, of course, if you are connected, if you have to internet, or smaller groups will gather and one will have connectivity to internet and therefore Skype. But it was amazing to see how fast the need made this mindset change.
Yeah.
So humankind is really amazing.
Yeah. And I mean that, you know, what you shared in terms of people sharing that access. So if only one person in the community has access to, you know, they can share that with others so that, you know, they're not excluding those in the community without, you know, but what are you, you know, as we look towards increasing individual and community resilience, I mean, obviously there are factors such as, you know, insurance is a huge element, that societal bond, community bonds, and so how do you facilitate that? That plays a big role. But what about for, and this may be to some of your work in the satellite industry, but you know, communities that are still completely disconnected or have, you know, maybe are still on 2G connectivity. You know, have you seen anything, any models that are working there, or is the best response really we just have to get them online and we have to increase you know, bandwidth into those communities for those that are still on older connection?
I've seen a lot of innovation on at the GSM level. So at least GSM level, and a lot of innovation in voice messaging and text, but I think voice is even better, voice messaging.
Yeah.
And this I've seen a lot, like in Ghana, I think it's one of the pioneering countries working on this kind of projects. So I think, and if you want to talk a bit about technology, more and more satellite technology is becoming inclusive, meaning that the price are declining as technology is evolving, because now producing a bit is much cheaper than that it was in the past. So before it was like a premium thing, while today it's affordable as, or it's getting closer to terrestrial or fiber. And I think that telecom companies and mobile network operators, now they can, without investing a lot in terrestrial infrastructures to reach like difficult to reach populations, now you can land a pipe and distribute. So I think in the next 5 years to 10, we are going to see like a hybrid type of networks, and with 5G and much more devices connected, there will be this balancing of traffic between different networks, because you cannot rebuild an infrastructure of a country, so there will be a balancing.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, and I know, you know, we've been seeing, people might be seeing this in the news in terms of you know, some of the big names, tech companies who are investing in like constellations and whatever, micro satellites or whatever they're, nano, whatever they're called. What's that?
Starlink.
Yeah. So do you think that we're getting to a place where in 5 years from now, it's feasible that every inch of the planet could be connected to affordable internet?
I think the challenge is not only on the spacecraft side, is to have a device that can receive from the satellite that is affordable. Or that there is a bigger marriage between the satellite constellations and the mobile network operators, that they distribute the last mile into the devices. I think it makes more sense that the satellite would land big pipes and then terrestrial network will distribute to cheap devices.
Yeah.
Instead of a satellite dish that has to track a satellite and all that.
Yeah.
But I think definitely the technology is there. And in 5 years, the technology will, 5 to 7, the technology will be there. What I'm not 100% sure is that the business plan is there, that the business case is there to support. I mean, because this is very expensive. Let's say a very expensive infrastructure to cover the world. I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the business case, the dollars will match the required investment. On the other side, we see companies like Facebook that they heavily invest because their market value is based on the number of people that is
on the platform.
So I think it also brings our innovation in terms of new business models and value creation in our world. So how do we create value?
Yeah. So on that, you know, I know we started with resilience, and then we moved into sort of connectivity more broadly. But do you have, you know, one or two things that you could recommend to practitioners today that actions that they can take, that they can, you know, either to, you know, help to increase community and individual resilience, or if you want to talk about connectivity more broadly, but you know, your choice, but love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, I think one that comes from my experience, and especially the last years, is that there is so much innovation going on. But maybe there is not enough partnerships between supply and demand.
Yeah.
And between the innovation, is the innovation really fitting to the market? Or can we apply these innovations more into underserved, excluded populations? How can we make that flow happen?
Yeah.
And I think now there is a good trend also in more and more investment money going into that type of companies, innovation or programs. And this will enable more and more, but I think one key thing is cooperating with a local partner or directly with the local communities, but never forget who are you wanted to serve.
Yeah.
And because something that I did wrong was that I'm so much coming from the technology that you oftentimes you over-engineer, and that's never works.
Yeah.
So for me, it's very important to marry the two, the supply and the demand.
Yeah.
And maybe on resilience, I think it's now another thing that COVID brought is many companies researching on online education and online education platforms. And I think that will open up really a new opportunities in underserved communities and excluded communities to move more into e-learning.
Yeah.
I mean, the content is adequate and all these kind of things, of course, but I think there will be a push in education, and I think education is the fundamentals of everything, and resilience as one of them.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Maria, I want to thank you so much for sharing all this with us today. To anyone watching, I want to encourage you to share any thoughts and comments, reactions you have in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can receive updates on future episodes. So Maria, thanks again.
Thanks a lot, Jess.